Hello, people. This is Baba Rakha, and today we're reacting to the origin story of Led Zeppelin from John Paul Jones himself. This is his interview. This was a recommendation by Misty Mountain Hop. Wherever you are, I hope you're well. I hope to hear from you soon. And there have been multiple people who have told me about the origin story of Led Zeppelin and uh, 27th Angel, Seacoast Hit, Cosmic Vagabond Pixie, you know, Old Zepphead. All of you all have been uh, so kind to tell me about this. And from what I understand, it began with the Yardbirds. And Jimmy Page was the one who put the band together. And so Plant and Bonham, they already knew each other, and Page and John Paul Jones knew each other. And I was told this fun fact. I haven't, yeah. So, um, what was I saying? Yeah, my apologies. So you might be wondering why am I bothering trying to find out the origin story, listening to them talk. um, you know, the music is good enough. Well, back when I started playing guitar near the end of my school, around 2010, I found my favorite guitar player, Nuno Bettencourt. And was, I heard, I had seen, heard, listened to every interview of Nuno Bettencourt by that time, by 2010, that was available on YouTube. And it was because of his shout outs to his influences, his favorite guitar players, Jimmy Page, is how I discovered Led Zeppelin. Otherwise, I would not have known. And so many other bands. So it began with Nuno Bettencourt, Extreme, and then it branched out to various different legends of rock and roll. So I owe this to my curiosity, and I'm sure there are things I will continue to learn by listening to these interactions, listening to them talk, and yeah, um, let's go.
First instrument was piano. Yeah, and then I took up bass and organ at about the same time. My father was my parents were in variety, what you would call vaudeville, and he was a great pianist and an arranger. And my mum was a singer and a dancer. They used to have like a musical comedy act. But he was kind of intimidating as a pianist, and so I wanted to take up the organ, just so not to be like Dad, you know. But then I really wanted to play bass guitar, and he said, "Son, don't take up the bass guitar." He said, "It's a novelty instrument. You'll never have, in 2 years' time, nobody will ever heard of one, right?" So, but Dad, I really want. He said, "Well, take up the saxophone. You'll always work with the saxophone." I said, "No, I don't want to play the saxophone. I want to play the bass." So I managed to convince him to guarantee, because I was like 14, be the guarantor for the what do you call it, layaway? Yeah. And then I paid for it by playing organ in church, and which I got $50 a year, a year, but it just covered the payments for the bass, and and then of course he heard me playing and then thought, okay, and so by then he was doing sort of small, local gigs and stuff like that. So he went, okay, come with me. So I used to go on gigs with him. We had a trio or a quartet, whatever was required. And he just said, okay, watch my left hand. And so I did, and I learned a huge amount from that. It was a great experience. My very first bass, it was a Dallas Tuxedo. It was the only...
He says something tuxedo. I'm writing these down. While I'm recording this, unfortunately, I'm not connected to the internet, so I'll have to search them later. Dallas tuxedo, I think I heard. Couldn't have been Dallas tuxedo. He's in Britain. Dallas tuxedo. Just write Dulles. Google.
bass made in England, I think, at that time. I think by Arbiter or something like that. And in fact, I found another one on eBay last year and I bought it. But it's an extraordinary instrument. The whole thing, it's made out of one piece of wood. Neck, everything. The whole thing's carved out of one block of wood. It's an astonishing thing. It's got a big fat neck on it, and it's got a single cutaway. It's kind of guitar shape with a single cutaway. It's that thick, weighs nothing, and actually had not a bad sound. The one I found, I bought in England, and it was. It may have been the same one, because I can't think that there were many of them. They made a guitar version which evidently Lennon had. So there are pictures of John Lennon with the guitar version of it. And then my second bass was a Burns Artiste, I think it was, the two pickup one, or three pickup.
Artiste, did he say? And he mentioned the Dallas tuxedo was made in England, so couldn't have been Dallas. Artiste. And he mentions that it's a single piece instrument. I mean, that's very rare today, and I mean, I don't know if it was rare at that time or if it was common, but those are extremely expensive today. I mean, man, it's almost always the body and the neck are two different pieces. It's a given. If it's a one piece, prices will go up. And it's very wonderful to. So he had an early influence of music from his parents, and I mean, his father said bass is a novelty instrument. It's going to go out of fashion in a couple of years. Nobody will play it. Nobody will know. Dear God. And this, I'm guessing, if he was in his 20s in the 1960s, he must have been born somewhere in the 40s, sometime in the 40s. Let's say he started playing it when he was 10, 12, something like that, 50s. It's been 70 years. The bass guitar still remains a very, very vital instrument, be it any genre of music. A 6-string guitar, a lead guitar might not be there, but the bass guitar most definitely is going to be a part of almost all genres. So yeah, okay, this is fascinating.
Cherry red, which is great. And then I swapped that. Well, what happened from the first bass I put it down in part exchange for the next bass, which I put down in part exchange for the next bass, which was my Fender jazz bass, which is a 1962 jazz bass. And I know it's 1962 because that was the year I bought it.
Do you still have it?
I still have it, yeah. I still use it. Not on stage, but I record with it.
Wow.
So, and that was it. So I had one bass for many years, even with Zeppelin. Just the one. Well, the basses I use on stage are all made by Hugh Manson, who is actually taking...
Hugh Manson must be a luthier, makes guitars, and for John Paul Jones to play only his instruments, at least during the Led Zepp era, he must be quite an amazing luthier. Am I pronouncing that right? Luthier. People who make guitars, luthier. I hope so. I'll look that up too. Hugh Manson. And he mentioned he bought the first Dallas Tuxedo bass on eBay. I mean, excuse me, sorry. That's so. He's younger than my grandparents were, but even when they were around, they never bothered with technology, computers, internet, eBay, and whatnot. So it's always very fascinating to me, and I because I mean they were from the time of the radio, from the radio to from vinyl records with gramophones to cassettes to CDs to DVDs to USBs, and now everything is streamed online, Apple, iTunes, all those things and everything. It's Spotify and so on. So the number of the changes that they have seen, the advances that they have seen, is just it fascinates me, and how they have when people adapt to that so well. It's absolutely. I'm struck. I did not have my first smartphone until 2016, and I didn't even start using it right away. It was there, so it was given to me, and before that, I had the basic phone, Nokia 1100. You could have thrown it from the balcony of the highest buildings; it would not have broken. It would have continued to work, and it was only in 2017 that I first started using the smartphone more and more. And 2018, I started recording for the first time and started this channel. So, being born much later than them, I was still an analog man in a digital world, and I found the idea very romantic. But yeah, here I am now, surrounded by technology. So, yeah, what was I saying? You mentioned Hugh Manson. I was talking about how, oh yeah, he found this bass on eBay and everything. It's just something. My apologies, I'm rambling on. It's just something that I find very fascinating when the uh, I'm trying to sound delicate here, So the more experienced people, please don't crucify me when they show interest in technology or all this. It's fascinating to me because I've never seen that around me. So and not in my family. So yeah.
You can set them up at the beginning of the show and make sure they're all in really good, playing order and good condition and everything. There's 4-string bass, which I think I only use one of in this show. Yeah, 4-string bass. Then there's the 10-string bass, which is basically a double 5-string. So there's 5 courses, 2 strings in each course, and the strings are in octaves. Okay, so it's like a kind of 12-string guitar.
What did you say?
Which I think I only use one of in this show. Yeah, 4-string bass. Then there's the 10-string bass, which is basically a double 5-string. So there's 5 courses, 2 strings in each course, and the strings are in octaves. Okay, so it's like a kind of 12-string guitar, and that runs from E to high C. Then I have the 12-string bass, which is like a double 6, B to high C. What else? What else do I use? Bass mandolin, which is 2 octaves below a regular mandolin. Which also has double courses, all in octaves. So you've got that sort of. They've all got that sort of chimey sound, you can. And you can do some rather cool things with it because you can, having the octave string, you can actually play chords or run lines against each other so that things that would on a bass sound very muffled and woofy sound clear because you can hear the melody strings, the high strings on the multi-string basses. What else do I use? Bass lap steel, which is an 8-string instrument with 2 bass strings on it, going right the way down to bottom E. And then there's octave mandolin, which is not a bass, of course. What else is there? I think that's about it. Loads of influences. Pretty much everything I listen to is an influence. And I defy any musician to say that it's not. I mean, anything you switch on the radio, and there's always something you can take from every music, every style, even if it's the shallowest pop record to the heaviest jazz, whatever, avant-garde, anything. You can usually pick out, you can learn something, even if it's don't do that. You know what I mean? But I suppose when I was studying to play the bass, which I had a couple of lessons with somebody, but it was only just like hold your hand like that and try and extend and that sort of stuff. I had 2-3 lessons maybe. And but mainly I've done it by listening and playing to records. And on bass guitar, my influences are probably Duck Dunn and then James Jamerson.
Duck Dunn, did he say? James Jameson. I'm guessing the first one was Dirk Dunn, D-I-R-K. Maybe. I'll check that when I'm online.
In the session world, I was if you wanted your record to sound American, you would call me because I was the one who listened to all that stuff, to Motown, Stax, and all that sort of stuff. And so I could play it, and the arrangers couldn't generally write those parts because they were quite complicated, so they just used to write the chords up and go, you know what to do, sort of thing. So, okay, great. So I had the freedom of pretty much improvising, through whole sessions, which was great. It was unusual. And jazz, probably, Charles Mingus, Ray Brown, and then Scott LaFaro. I mean, all these people. But I didn't only listen to bass players, obviously. I tried to listen to absolutely everything. And as I said, there's always something you can learn. No. I kind of practice when I need to. I play every day something, usually mandolin. Mainly because it's small, it's hanging on the wall, you just pick it up and start playing. With a bass, you've got to go and find an amp, get it out, a chord and stuff like that. Acoustic instruments are just so accessible and instant. You can carry them on planes. It's great.
Part two.
Everything does. Yeah, I mean, even after the Vultures started, I took a couple of weeks off and went to play with the Merce Cunningham Dance Company in New York. And in fact, we're doing 6 shows in the Barbican in London this week, which is basically using bass guitar. We were on this huge sculpture, so it's like 20-foot metal sculpture on stage. With Sonic Youth took the bottom 2 rungs, I was on the next one, and then there's a guy called, sorry, Kasugi, boom, Kasugi on the top, doing live electronics. And I was doing bass guitar, but with the Kima system, which is a computer system which completely processes everything. And I mean, it doesn't even sound like a bass guitar most of the time, but it's a system that I program myself and do stuff on. And so yeah, everything feeds everything else, basically. My rock stuff feeds that, and then that'll feed something else, and then it'll end up as bluegrass. Well, sometimes I'll just sit at an instrument and just fool around until something sounds good, and then I'll develop it, record it quickly, and then develop it. Sometimes I go for a walk, which is my favourite way of writing is actually to take a piece of little pad, manuscript pad, and or maybe a recorder sometimes, but I like to get notes down. I like to get an original idea down. If you can get it down as accurately as possible, it usually is the best one. And so I'll go for a long walk and take a pad and paper and get an idea down, and then come back to the studio and try and learn it, which is sometimes more problematical, because invariably I'll write something I can't play, and so then I just have to figure it out.
Okay, this is entirely, this idea is foreign to me, because I can't read music, I can't write music, I can play music, because I wasn't formally trained. If you show me the sheets, music on sheets and everything, it's like hieroglyphs to me. It might as well be Hebrew. I wouldn't know. So yeah, that is something that I'm not very keen on learning either. I would like to be able to play guitar better. I would like to learn to play more instruments with time. Hopefully, when I get them someday. But the whole reading music, writing music, I feel like it takes the fun out of it. And music is one thing that is sacred to me, and I haven't in my past I haven't protected it as well as I should have, and it ended up hurting me, my music, my relationship with music, to the extent that I had for years before last, or even since for last few years, I didn't even play my guitar, and now I'm coming back and getting back in black. So let's see.
I mean, in the Zeppelin days, Black Dog was written like that, on a train, with a piece of paper, and a notation system that my dad showed me, where you use the values of the notes and you just put little numbers underneath. like 1 to 7 for the scale, and plus and minus for flat and sharp, and sharp flat, and just write it out, and then come back and figure it out, and then put it down on disc these days, tape in those days, and build it up, keep a library of bits and pieces, and that was good, yeah, that'll fit with that, and fit it all together. Or if I'm writing with other musicians, we'll come in with ideas. With the Vultures, we were all in the studio, and basically somebody would start on something and go, oh yeah, I should maybe go this way, how about this bit, and put it all together. It's a nice organic process, it keeps moving, it's nice. Yeah, about 6 years ago, I went to see a bluegrass band that came to England, and then I was talking to the mandolin player, and was just talking about stuff, and he said, there's a great young kid in the States in a band called Nickel Creek, called Chris Thiele. And so I kind of Googled it and found him, and then found that they were coming to England, and went down, and they were playing down the Borderline Club in London, which is, holds 100 people maybe. And Nickel Creek were playing there, and so I introduced myself afterwards. Thiele did a great double take, hi, I'm John Paul Jones. He went, hi, hi there, and found out they were all Zeppelin fans, as is most of the bluegrass world, I found, which is great. And we got friendly, and I then went to Merlfest, just met all these people, and it's just amazing, this whole community of really nice people who just, all they want to do is play music, so yes, fantastic. And then after that, Chris called me up and said, I'm going to form a band called the Mutual Admiration Society, which is basically Nickel Creek, bass and drums, and Glenn Phillips from To the West Rocket singing. And so I went on the road with them for a month, on the bus with the kids, me and Pete Thomas on drums, and it kind of went on from there. And so a couple of years later, I saw them in Cambridge, and they said they were going to maybe wind down a bit, and Sarah wanted to do a solo record. So I just said to her, if you make a solo record and I'm not producing it, I'll never speak to you again. So that kind of convinced her, I think. She obviously wanted to keep up the relationship, thank goodness. Well, I did say to Chris, I hope if she doesn't want to use me, tell her it's okay, I will speak to her. But, it worked out really well, and she was fantastic. She's a great singer, fiddle player, and got a bunch of really good people together, and made the record in Los Angeles and then half in Nashville, mixed in Nashville, so I'm really proud of it. The process of music is from brain to somebody's ear, basically, and the less that gets in the way of that little journey, the better, and it's brain to fingers, so you got to get your fingers in good shape and responsive, and then the strings are the link between you and the guitar or the instrument, and if they're slowing you up or giving you too much friction or impeding you anyway, it's something you got to get over. And I first came to Elixir strings from Chris Thiele. When I went to, I did the Mutual Admiration Society tour. There was one number I did, which I did an instrumental version of Going to California with Sean Watkins, just mandolin and guitar. And so Chris said, try these strings. Okay. Because I figure, that's a little side thing. I use the pick he uses, I use the strings he uses, right? And it's not because I'm going to sound like him, but I figure he's a mandolin player. That's all he does. But, that's what he's done most of. It's not all he does. He's a composer and everything. And I thought, he'd probably figured out the best strings and the best pick to use, right? I don't have to try every pick and all sets of strings to figure out that. I can ask him. And it's probably a damn good start, If it doesn't work for me, then I can change it. refine it or whatever. But I tried the strings and I thought, this is great. My fingers do not stick every now and again, and I just go, I'll go over something, and I don't have to change them all the time, to keep them fresh. They last forever. Well, not forever, but for a long time, much longer than regular second strings. And so it was not to diminish them, but they were one less thing to think about and to get in the way, And so I started, I used the same gauge. We talked about string gauges, and he has ideas about string gauges, and I kind of followed those ideas too, thinking, well, he's probably figured it out. And he had. And so we used the same gauge. And then Alexa sent me some bass strings, and we'll try these. And I went, okay. And sure enough, they do for me what the mandolin strings do. They just don't get in the way at all. And they always sound fresh, Hugh loves them because he doesn't have to change them so many times. And, they stand up to it. But basically, I just like that kind of slick feeling about them. And I can move quickly. Again, there's less friction, so they just don't get in the way. And they sound great, so I have no problem with them at all. That's a really good question. Keep doing stuff. And it's not that I get bored. I just find it limiting to do the same thing for a long time, whatever it is. I just like to keep. There's so much out there. There's so much to do. As far as playing a lot of instruments, I realise that I can't play all the instruments I like to play. Every time I hear something new, I want to go out, get it, and play it and learn it, And so in the end, I became an arranger, so I can at least write for people who can play, or a composer. I can do that. But I don't really care how I make music, as long as I make music. People say, well, is the blues where your heart is? My heart's there, sure. And classical music, yeah, my heart's there too. Bluegrass, of course. Rock, yeah. It's music. It's all, my heart's in music. It doesn't really matter what type of music it is.
Okay. I thought I had found the right interview, where he was going to speak about the origin story. It was a great interview regardless. He had so many profound things, like music is basically the process of your brain to your ear. Brain, you play it, listen back to your ear. The lesser number of obstacles there are, and so many great things. And there are a list of things that I need to Google. And I really thought this was going to be the origin story. He was going to talk about that during this interview. Perhaps not. I'll have to find some other interview for that. If any of you can, find that interview and send me the link, I'd sincerely appreciate it. And this was fun. John Paul Jones is. It's nice to see him smile and laugh, because laugh. I never seen him smile or laugh on stage, like even a smile, slight smile. So like his face has always been dead serious every time I've seen him on stage, with Led Zeppelin or with others. No. When he was playing in Tokyo at the Hard Rock Cafe Tokyo, with Nuno Bettencourt, Paul Gilbert, Guitar Wars, that concert was called. I think I saw him smile when they were playing Led Zeppelin songs for a moment. But yeah, I'm glad to see him smile and laugh. Anyways, this was just not something I thought it would be, but I'm going to edit it and put it up online, uh, regardless. To those who want to watch, they can. To those who don't, I completely understand. And I'll continue with more Led Zeppelin music. And, until next time, take care. Das Vidania. Au revoir. Bye.